Hello, friends. I'm Maria La Sala, the Spiritual Care Coordinator at Whitney Center, and I want to welcome you to our Welcoming the Sabbath service. It's good to be with you this evening, and I am as grateful as ever to Kevin Mack for leading us through our prayers, our songs, and stories. I hope that you've been well, and as we come to our Sabbath's rest, may all of you know peace and joy on this night and in the days to come. Kevin, welcome to Welcoming the Sabbath.
Thank you, and good afternoon to you and to yours and to everybody at Whitney Center. We begin with our Sidurim on page 2 with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Eyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Eyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Eyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitzechem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Eyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We turn the page over to page 3, and you're welcome to join me. Draw near, eternal God, as working day turns to Sabbath rest. You have been with me all the week, and yet I have forgotten you, God of my hope and my salvation. Now, kindling these lights, I saw your name, remembering the love you have shown to me, and in gratitude and thanks, I turn to you to bathe my hungry soul in your kindness. And with the radiance of these candles, we bring this wonderful radiance of spirit into our hearts as we chant the prayer in the middle of page 3. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We praise you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe. You have made us holy by your mitzvot and have commanded us to kindle the Shabbat lights. May we be blessed with Shabbat joy. May we be blessed with Shabbat peace. May we be blessed with Shabbat holiness. And because we are so thankful, as we certainly should be, we chant the Shehecheyanu, granting us a prayer of praise for having reached this season. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shehecheyanu, v'kiyamanu, v'higiyanu, lazman hazeh. Amen. I need to share with you this past week, the day of the afternoon of the tornado. I was on my way to a rehearsal at Congregation Mishkan, Israel. And I barely made it back across the road from halfway to the destination with my life because Ridge Road had a tree in front of me down and a tree in back of me down, and more trees were falling all about me. So the Shehechianu has a great personal import right about now. We continue with the Lecha Dodi that we find on page 4. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmi anu el hamayuchad, Adonai echad, U'shmo echad, B'shem u'letiferet v'li techila, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, Ki hi mekor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tekila. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hit oreri, Kiva orech kumi ori, uri, shir daberi, Kavod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'v'tzola, Toch emunei am segula. Boi chala, Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabala. Lecha Dodi likrat kala, B'nei Shabbat nekabela. Please turn to page 5 for the Baruch Hu and another prayer and the Shema. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due. Praised be the one to whom our praise is due, now and forever. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. We praise you, Adonai. You love your people Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto le'olam va'ed. Hear, O Israel, the eternal is our God, the eternal is one. Blessed is God's glorious realm forever and ever. On the succeeding page, page 6, we have the English translation from Deuteronomy and Numbers of the Ve'ahavta. We'll speak, if you wish, together the English, and we will chant, if you remember and are able, the Ve'ahavta in Hebrew. You shall love the eternal your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your being. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you consecrate yourselves to your God. I am your eternal God who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I am your eternal God. Ve'ata et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'aderech, uv'shochbecha, uv'kumecha, uk'shartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotofot bein einecha, uv'chetavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim Yod lachem lelohim, ani Adonai Elohechem. Still on page 6, we continue in the middle with the song from Exodus, Mi Chamocha. First, the English translation, who is like you, Eternal One, among the gods that are worshipped? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, doing wonders? In their escape from the sea, your children saw your sovereign might displayed. This is my God, they cried. The Eternal will reign forever and ever. And it has been said, the Eternal One delivered Jacob and redeemed us from the hand of one stronger than ourselves. We praise you, O God, Redeemer of Israel. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef elem, nora tehilot osef elem, malechutecha ra'u v'necha, bokei hayam, לפני משה זה ליאנו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. On page 7, we have a prayer that we should utter together. We have gathered in our spaces to celebrate Shabbat together. Our ancestors created Shabbat to be an island of quiet in a tumultuous and frantic world. Once each week, we are invited to pause and set aside our routines that we might refresh our spirits and renew within us that vision of our highest self. Through Sabbath rest and worship, we are called upon to remember that we alone have the power to create a life that transcends the ordinary. In these moments of quiet, we reflect upon the meaning of our lives. Take a few moments. We continue on page 7 with Vishamru. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Nasot et ha-Shabbat B'dorotam berit olam Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Nasot et ha-Shabbat B'dorotam berit olam Beini uvein bnei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam, oti leolam. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Nasot et ha-Shabbat B'dorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, et hashamayim ve'et haaretz v'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat Nasot et ha-Shabbat B'dorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Nasot et ha-Shabbat B'dorotam berit olam. People of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat in every generation as a covenant for all time. It is a sign forever between me and the people of Israel. For in 6 days the Eternal One made heaven and earth, but on the 7th day God rested and was refreshed. We continue with this prelude to the Avot and Gevurot, which is in English, and you're welcome to speak it responsively or sequentially. Any way you wish is, I'm sure, just fine between myself, yourself, and the Almighty. O my God, my soul's compassion, my heart's precious friend, I turn to you. In the silence of my innermost being, in the fragment of my yearned for wholeness, I hear whispers of your presence. Echoes of the past when you were with me, when I felt your nearness, when together we walked, when you held me close, embraced me in your love, laughed with me in my joy. I yearn to hear you again. In your oneness, I find healing. In the promise of your love, I am soothed. In your wholeness, I too become whole again. Please listen to my call. Help me find the words. Help me find the strength within. Help me shape my mouth, my voice, my heart, so that I can direct my spirit and find you in prayer. In words only my heart can speak. In songs only my soul can sing, lifting my eyes and heart to you. Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, open my lips, precious God, so that I can speak with you again. On page 9 we go, and we find one of these joyous songs, the Yismechu. And just so we underscore the joy, we should speak it in English before we sing it in Hebrew. Those who keep Shabbat and call it a delight shall rejoice in your deliverance. All who hallow the 7th day shall be gladdened by your goodness. This day is Israel's festival of the Spirit, sanctified and blessed by you. the most precious of days, a symbol of the joy of creation. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, V'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadoshei, Mekadoshei Shevi Shabbat. Kulam yisbu, v'yitangu mituvecha Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Uvashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat. Chemdat yamim, oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Uvashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat. Chemdat yamim, oto karata Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh v'reishis Shabbat. Zecher l'maaseh v'reishis Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu b'malachutecha, Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat, v'korei oneg Shabbat. Always a part of our daily prayers, and unfortunately, there's always a need for these prayers. We now engage in a number of prayers for peace, beginning on page 10, just up at the top, with Shalom Rav. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon, Lecho ha-shalom. Ki atahu melech Adon, Lecho ha-shalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, b'chol עת ובכל שעה ישלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam, Tasim leolam. Bring complete and lasting peace to Israel, your people. For you are the master of peace who rules over all. Let it be good in your eyes to bless Israel, your people, every season, every hour, with your peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. Blessed are you, Eternal One. You bless your people, Israel, with peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country, that it may always be a stronghold of peace and its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within its borders, health and happiness within its homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship among the inhabitants of all lands, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Blessed is the eternal God, the source of peace. We always keep in mind others. That's who we are. It helps define us, I think, as human beings, or at least caring human beings. And there are always less fortunate than we and are on beds of illness, whether physical beds or spiritual beds. And we think about them in these times and all times, wishing them the very, very best. We chant for them the Misha Beirach, found on page 11. Misha Beirach Avotenu, Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Beirach imotenu, Mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And we continue with the prayer, Asa Shalom. May the one who makes peace in the high heavens make peace for us, for all Israel and all the world, and let us say, Amen. Ose Shalom bimromav, Uyase Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, Amen. Ya'ase Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Ya'ase Shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Now it's time to close up your Sidurim for a moment, but don't lose your place. It's time for me to get a sip. I think the revenge of the ragweed is being exacted upon me. And if you think about the Jewish liturgical year, the calendar year, you know, of course, that we're getting pretty close to Simchat Torah. So we're winding up Deuteronomy. Sure enough, our parsha for this Shabbat is Ki Tavo, which is Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 1 through chapter 29, verse 8. And it's been our want of late to give you headlines, a little précis of what's going on in this passage, no matter what any kind of a little drosh that I might give. There are three addresses that Moses gives his flock, his congregation, and the longest one is the second one. And this features the conclusion of the second address. And it's the conclusion of the giving of the law. So there are a lot of laws, certainly, that are coming down. The first address, by the way, is the recounting of God's role in the Jews having attained freedom. And of course, that freedom, a gift from God, is a cause for obedience, yes? So the second address is a very long litany. And Kitavot features a series of blessings, very sweet and uplifting blessings, and a series of curses, which are not so uplifting. But the idea is that both of them together, the highs and the lows, you might say, together cement the law. And this also features the beginning of the third address, the final one. And that address it's a call anyway, to renew the covenant and to remind you of the consequences of disobedience. So fairly stern stuff, but we're going to go in a slightly different tact today. We can call this live in yesterday's belief. In this week's Torah portion, Moses reminds the Jewish people of the miraculous events they experienced while in Egypt and the desert. And after reiterating all that occurred, Moses adds, "But God did not give you a heart to know, or eyes to see, or ears to hear until this day." That's from Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 3. Even though the Jewish people had all personally experienced all the phenomenal miracles firsthand, Moses declared that they actually hadn't known, they hadn't seen, they hadn't heard any of it until right now. The reason behind Moses saying this will prove to be a powerful gateway in our own lives. How many times have you looked back on some of your previous behavior in complete awe and astonishment as to how it was you could have acted a certain way? Just about all of us who look at a picture of our hairstyle in high school, for example, or college yearbook will shriek, "What was I thinking?" The reason there is such a difference in how we view things now, as opposed to how we saw them when they were unfolding, is that all our actions in the past were based on the life experiences we had until that point. So years later, after having experienced and lived through so much more, we now have entirely new and different frames of reference upon which to base our decisions. And these decisions will often be radically different than the ones we initially made. Moses wanted the Jewish people to understand this life-changing principle. Even though they had all witnessed and lived through countless miracles, in the future, they'll always have more and more life experiences to add into their mental equation as they reflect on these memories. And this means they'll probably have a lower level of belief and conviction as to God's presence than they have right now. The fact is, the moment something happens in our lives, we all have crystal clear clarity as to what has occurred. That happened to me a few days ago on Ridge Road, watching practically my life before me as trees were falling about me. But as time goes by, we look back on these same events with a new perspective and can dramatically change our belief of these events. We now have more experiences in our lives and will therefore look back with an entirely different set of eyes than we had when those events first happened. There are times when we have seen God's hand so clearly in our lives. We feel God totally in control and guiding us in the right direction. But as time goes on, we forget that's the solid, strong, and unwavering belief we had. Moses did not want the Jewish people ever to look back on the miraculous events they had experienced and lose the awesome clarity they had of God's existence and the love God has for them. And that's the life-changing message for all of us. Think back to a time in your life when you knew God performed a miracle for you. And as you reflect on this event, also know that God did not give you a heart to know, or eyes to see, or ears to hear until this day. At Deuteronomy chapter 29, verse 3 again. It's when you're able to bridge the natural gap in your belief and trust in God from where you are today to how you felt back then, that you truly will have embraced Moses' instructions and be able to live each day in an unbelievable, blissful spiritual reality. Shabbat Shalom. We continue, after another sip of water, with the Aleinu that we find in our Sidurim on page 12. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'tekenu l'aliotze breshit, shelo asanu k'goyei haratot, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו כהמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. You spread out the heavens and established the earth. You are our God, there is none else. You alone are our sovereign God. As it is written, know then this day and take it to heart. The Eternal One is God in the heavens above and on the earth below. There is none else. You're welcome to join me for this following text. Eternal God, we face the morrow with hope made stronger by the vision of your deliverance. A world where poverty and war are banished, where injustice and hate are gone. Teach us more and more to respond to the pain of others, to heed your call for justice, that we may bring near the day when all the world shall be one. On that day, the age-old dream shall come true. On that day, O God, you shall be one and your name shall be one. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. And now with such heavy thoughts, and of course the new year around the corner, and that time for introspection that is always so important to us, we can think a little bit of where we are in the cosmos and our function in it right about now. Think of ourselves in the cycle of life, those who have come before us and bestowed the gift of life on us, and those perhaps whom we bestow the gift of life on, who will succeed us. So we think about those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, let us meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. And now on page 13, we turn to the Mourner's Kaddish. Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah. Amen. Yamad Divrach Yurute, Yam Lich Marchute, V'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei kol Beit Yisrael, V'agala uvizman kariv v'emeru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevarach Le'alam La'almei Al-Maya. Yit Barach V'it Tabach V'it Pa'ar V'it Roman V'it Naseh. V'it Hadar V'it Halev V'it Halal Shmei Dekudesha B'richu. Le'elamin Kod Birchata V'shirata. Tushbechata V'nechamata Da'amiran Ve'alma Ve'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chaim. Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimrumav. Uya Oseh Shalom. Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'imru Amen. Which means, let the glory of God be extolled, and God's great name be hallowed in the world whose creation God willed. May God rule in our own day, in our own lives, and in the life of all Israel. And let us say, Amen. Let God's great name be blessed forever and ever. Beyond all the praises, songs, and adorations that we can utter is the Holy One, the Blessed One, whom yet we glorify, honor, and exalt. And let us say, Amen. For us and for all Israel, may the blessing of peace and the promise of life come true. And let us say, Amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens cause peace to reign among us, all Israel, and all the world. And let us say, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. We continue on the next page with this poem by Rabbi Sylvan Comments and Rabbi Jack Reamer. We remember them. In the rising of the sun and in its going down, we remember them. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember them. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember them. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember them. So long as we live, they too shall live, for they are now a part of us as we remember them. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember them. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember them. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we remember them. In the rustling of leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we remember them. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember them. It's time for greetings. I greet you in this wonderful Shabbat. Please greet each other, either physically or virtually or spiritually. Take just a moment. And if you have a simcha to share that your significant other doesn't already know, then it's time now to share it. We now go to a wonderful part of our ceremony as we are getting closer to its conclusion, Kiddush and Motzi. I have not run out of silver cups for you, but this time we're going really modest and humble and small. In an Eastern tradition, these very small glasses you find in Eastern Europe, particularly Russia. And I have, over the years, collected what now is kind of a nested set of these. And you'll be surprised how large they get. But we're starting small today. And we chant together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen, Amen. L'chaim. And now the miracle bread, which is coming from this miracle loaf, the same one, ever since, I think it's February now. We chant the Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. My goodness, what a font of Jewish wisdom it is to have the bread follow the wine. So if for some reason it gets stuck on the way down, it can be fixed very quickly. We conclude our service with two blessings. First is the hymn Adon Olam as a 5-verse blessing, and then the Aharonic blessing which succeeds. The Adon Olam words you can find on the very last page, which is unnumbered, of course, in your Sidorim. Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem kol yitzir nivra Le'et na'asa v'chefzo kol Azai melech shemo nikra Ve'acharei kichlot hakol Levador yimloch nora V'hu haya v'hu hovem V'hu yiyeh b'tif ara V'hu echad ve'ein sheni Lahamshilo lahavira B'li reshit b'li tachlit V'lo ha'oz ha'amizra V'hu eli v'chai go'ali V'tzor hevi ve'etzara V'hu nisi umanosli Menat kosi b'yom ekra V'yado avkid ruchi Ve'et hisham ve'aira Ve'im ruchi geviati Adonai li v'lo ira. And I leave you this Shabbat with the following blessing from Numbers. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chunecha. May God's countenance shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. May God lift up God's face unto you and give you peace. Shabbat shalom. And please don't forget to join us for the high holiday services coming up. Thank you.